If you take time and remember, you would recall that around this time the DA would be preparing to release a scorecard on the performance of executive members of our government or the cabinet and the president. That was before the DA joined the feeding trough, but yes, now they are part of it. This begs the question, who is going to perform a review on cabinet members and the president? Oops, perhaps it's time we simply do a review on the DA's effectiveness as the opposition party here in South Africa before they joined the coalition government with the ANC. Now, there are three key leadership qualities that made former President Nelson Mandela not a good leader, but a great one. These are being a visionary leader. Madiba was humble. Madiba had an extraordinary sense of emotional intelligence. These are the qualities that Madiba effectively deployed to lead our diverse nation from a divided past into a rainbow nation. As a humble leader, Madiba was able to compromise without compromising his vision and principles. By this I mean Madiba was always willing to be the adult in the room whenever there were political egos and pettiness that stood in the country's march to a non-racial and democratic South Africa. Most importantly, Madiba's emotional intelligence enabled him to win over his detractors by his ability to sit down and listen in a manner that won their trust and confidence. As for the DA's leadership style, hubris is the best definition of the current and former leaders of the DA. Now, Google defines hubris as excessive pride or self-confidence. It is this hubris that explains the DA's consistent failure to dislodge the ANC from power for the past 30 years, even at a time when the ANC could be described as being in their deathbed. Now, I have listened time and again many DA officials boasting that they knew a few years in advance that the ANC would fail to attain a simple majority in the 2024 national election. Now, if the ANC was going to fail, this means that the majority of votes would reside elsewhere, but surely not in the DA alone, but across different political parties that were going to contest election. This reality on its own was instructive on what the DA's course of action should have been. But what did our beloved DA do with this knowledge? The DA continued with business as usual by focusing on minority interests of people who look like them. Call this tribal politics at its best, instead of getting down to work to create that genuine political front capable of unseating and turning the table on the ANC. The DA also resorted, to its favorite pastime, that is pressing the self-destruct button, decampaigning smaller parties in a self-righteous and a manner that permanently burned the bridges between themselves and these parties. The DA did this knowing that they alone would not be able to amass enough votes to unseat the ANC without the help of smaller parties. Strange, isn't it? At the same time, the DA pretended to build a make-believe alliance of carefully selected political allies who had no chance at all to garner enough votes to unseat the ANC. Now here the DA's hubris is laid to bear for all to see. They were unwilling to pay the price for unseating the ANC, namely to humble themselves and talk to their political enemies in order to attain that vision for which every political party exists to attain. And that is to govern. Fast forward to elections. The DA's moonshot pact failed to garner enough votes to unseat the ruling party, and the DA jumped off the sinking boat without looking back. Meanwhile, what the DA political pundits and pollsters predicted came to pass. The ANC at 41% fell far short of the simple majority required to govern alone. Now, I know some people will accuse me of hindsight is always perfect vision. No, the DA had foresight. They knew in advance because it was expected that the ANC would fall short. Now, spooked by the prospect of an ANC, EFF and possibly MK coalition, the DA threw themselves into the arms of the ANC. The DA consummated this coalition through a badly negotiated deal under the banner of the GNU government. In spite of the political brilliance of Helen Zille, that Mr. Neil de Beer likes to trumpet, the DA failed to observe one of the basic principles of negotiations, namely, never negotiate a deal in desperation. If you are under desperation, why give it away? But the DA did. I repeat, one of the significant outcomes of the 2024 national election that we seem to overlook is that the opposition collectively, they amassed more votes than those attained by the ANC. Now, the DA having known this in advance, this is one factor that should have preoccupied the DA as soon as they realized the ANC was not going to get it. A simple majority. Realizing the DA's desperation, the humiliated ANC seized the moment and played the DA by giving them some cabinet position whilst expanding the pool of cabinet positions in order to make room for their hungry cadres. Thanks to the DA, the ANC is back at the driving seat and fully in charge, governing as if they had the majority votes. As for the DA, the trappings of power have made them reluctant to ride the boat, and at best they pretend that they still have a say and a voice over the direction of the GNU. This is the story of how the DA, in spite of many lessons around SADC countries, has failed to lead South Africa into a genuine multi-party democracy where opposition parties have a shot at assuming the reins of power. What is the lesson? That lesson is that a united opposition is a necessary precondition for unseating a ruling party that has got all the advantages of the incumbent. But what was the DA supposed to do? The moment the DA learned that the ANC would not attain a 50+ majority, the DA was supposed to set their eyes on a mission to unite the opposition parties. Their pitch was supposed to say, fellow opposition parties, let's unseat the ANC so that we can create a level playing field. The agreement should have also provided for a 5-year minimum program, including service delivery and universal values such as clean governance, transparency. And they should also have focused on strengthening the independence of Chapter 9 institutions such as the IEC, the Judiciary, and the Public Protector Office. In other words, the minimum program for the opposition, supposed ruling opposition, would have focused on stripping the ANC the advantages of incumbency whilst delivering service delivery to the public. Yes, by pushing them off the levers of power. In this scenario, the ideology of each political party would have been suspended in favor of giving each political party a fair chance at governing and enabling multi-party democracy to take root in South Africa. After the term of the coalition, each party would have been free to pursue their political program and contest power in a more level playing field conducive to the conduct of a multi-party system. Finally, my feeling is that if we are looking up to the DA to usher a new era of genuine multi-party democracy in South Africa, we have a long way to go and to endure. That is my take. Please let me know your opinions on the comment section. And this is Rendani Nemavidi. I'm the